But yeah, it's a bit of a political thing with Spotify. No one's quite sure how that's going to. I mean, the service is great as a punter, and I'm sure if any of you use it as well, it's a really good service. But it's not generating the funds to sort of make it sustainable, certainly for labels. But just why some are threatening to pull their content out there, actually. But we'll see how that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you're actually talking about it, because I've sort of thought about it myself. I mean, if you want to stream tracks and you don't mind the adverts, you're not paying anything.
No.
But for £10 you can stream these tracks without any ads. But then you look at the subscriber numbers and the amount of tracks that are being offered, and you kind of think, well, the numbers just don't stack up. How on earth is somebody like you making money out of what is, I think, at the moment 100,000 subscribers paying the £10?
I think they've actually got 250. Well, across because they're UK and a bit of Europe, aren't they? So I think, I think it's 250,000 they've got now. So Daniel Lake was saying, but they're about to launch in the US, and we'll see how that pans out. But I mean, a lot of the kind of lines that we were getting sort of good sales on are suddenly pent because they're all streams. I don't think. I mean, I do subscribe because it's a good. I mean, I've got an iPhone. It's a good. The iPhone thing is really cool. The way that you can sort of cache tracks and take them with you actually seems a bit sort of unfair. Cause it's not really streaming. It's almost like having them, but without really paying for them. So I think that's only quite effective at the moment. I mean, it's good in terms of having your music out there and people can listen to it, and if they might choose to buy a CD and might choose to buy an MP3 by sort of clicking through the Spotify site, but not really converting. I think it's cannibalising sales. I think they're sort of returns things at the moment, but we'll see how that pans out.
You thought about putting out?
I don't think you gain anything from doing it. A label. The only people that are going to gain from that are people like Warner who threaten to do it because they've got some clout, and their loss would be felt if we just pulled out. People just. I mean, they might. Maybe we sell a few extra CDs, a few extra downloads, but I don't think it's really worth. Someone was telling me last week at South by Southwest, they run a label called True Thoughts, which is a UK-based kind of underground, kind of beaty sort of dance label. And he said they'd sold over the last year, or they'd had 1 million streams, 1 million tracks had been listened to on Spotify, streamed on Spotify, and for that they've got £1,000. That kind of gives you some idea of what you're dealing with. Particularly that those 1 million streams have basically maybe replaced, even if it's only replaced 10% of sales of that. That's a lot, isn't it? It's 100 grand. But anyway.
How many acts have you got signed at the moment?
We've probably got, any time we've probably got sort of 5 or 6. That's likely to expand this year. We've actually just launched, or we're about to launch a new sort of sister label as the sort of company's restructured called Tron Tenor, which is based out of a little independent studio based up near Wyndham. And we've also just started a publishing company, which makes a lot of sense because of some of the work that I've been doing, particularly in terms of trying to get placement of tracks into TV, film and game, which is something that we've been doing recently, partly as a source of revenue to sort of offset lack of sort of CD and MP3 sales. So I think between the publishing and the other label, we'll grow that fairly sort of significantly. It looks like I'm kind of moving into sort of artist management as well, instead of as part of that kind of company structure. So, and I think for independent companies like us, that kind of thing is kind of happening. The sort of traditional record label model will eventually not really exist anymore, and I think there'll always be an entity between the artist and the market, or whatever that is. But the traditional record label kind of model is not going to stay. So it kind of makes sense to get involved in.
What will replace it?
Well, I don't know, some kind of, conduit between whatever it is, whatever it is, whether you call it a label or management agency or publisher or content owner or, rights owner, rights management, however that kind of works out. But I mean, the idea that artists can obviously do a lot for themselves in the early parts of their career in terms of getting stuff out there, getting stuff on, their own MySpace, Facebook, even getting their own distribution sort of digitally, that's pretty easy to get these days, so it's definitely be available for iTunes and Spotify and everywhere else. But then suddenly they hit a wall where they don't really want to get any more involved in doing any of that stuff, and they don't really know how to sort of then throw in resource in terms of getting sort of marketing going on, or just the business side of things. Most artists don't really want to, or certainly that we don't really want to get that involved in it. So I think there'll always be somebody, whether it's the manager or the kind of a combination of that needs to be the entity that kind of makes that work and gets them into the marketplace.
I'm interested that you said that, because I think in the global economy there still has to be a need for the major labels. If you want to break an act worldwide and maintain that and build their career up, you need a big corporate machine to feed that, to keep it going, just in terms of cold cash, in terms of marketing, promotion.
Yeah, possibly. The only thing is, the way that it's going is that, you talk about major labels or major record companies, of course they're shrinking and cannibalising each other, and I think the worry is that eventually there'll just be one, and that could basically be the industry, and it'd be Universal. I mean, Universal appears to be sort of swallowing everybody up, and the moment Universal takes Sony or however it works, suddenly there'll just be the music corporation that sort of, and that's, and then suddenly for them, sort of Spotify kind of works, because if you've got a huge catalogue, if you're dripping in just bits of cash on each title, and you own millions of tracks, then it kind of makes sense. But as a small label, it doesn't really work like that. So I think you're certainly right in terms of the major labels have that marketing resource, but having said that, they're having to be careful how they spend it. They're not taking as many sort of risks creatively these days, and I think independent labels have more of a role to play now in terms of sort of breaking those sort of acts. And people like Dancing Machine, for instance, came totally through the sort of indie route with Moshi, and I think there's loads of other acts like that majors wouldn't have taken a chance on straight away. They need that kind of.
But we're fortunate that certain majors would take a risk with indies like Psycho, with Simon Cowell. We're fortunate that the likes of Simon Cowell are still breaking new acts in majors. What's your take on Simon Cowell?
Simon Cowell sells TV shows and then exploits the rights that he's managed to, or the value that he's managed to create in those TV shows. I don't think creatively he's got any particular talent at all. If you look at the things that he was signing before, he's got a talent for making TV shows and understanding how to make some money. I think it stops there. I mean, he's got a skill for sort of honing some of those artists into sellable acts, but then again, that's not flawless. We've had some stinkers as well. I don't think he's adding any value to the music industry whatsoever.
Of course, he would argue differently.
I'm quite willing to have that argument.
He would say his shows are giving, sort of talented singers a platform, and the likes of Leona Lewis, who are now one of world's most recognisable sort of soul.
Yeah, I mean, I think Leona Lewis is just a fluke. I mean, generally, it's if you had any talent or nous, you wouldn't even think about trying to walk through the doors of X Factor. But my wife loves it, and I have to watch it, so and it makes a lot of money for some people.
So you're an unsigned band, you're not going to go on X Factor, you're not going to go on Britain's Got Talent, you're going to want to approach Hungry Audio. How are you finding your talent? How do you go about discovering your talent?
We're just becoming aware of them. I mean, I do some radio as well. I present the BBC North British Decent Show here in Norwich, and that's a fairly good way of obviously seeing what's going on here. I go out to gigs. I mean, people do send us sort of unsolicited